I'm Tony Hayes, and I'd like to welcome you back to the 80K. In this video, I would like to talk a little bit about some of my upcoming projects. I'll be heading up to my property at the end of May for 3 weeks in June, and I have a lot of stuff planned. I apologize in advance for the sound quality. I was recording on my PC so that I could show you some SketchUp diagrams that I have, and unfortunately it's loud. It's got a lot of fans in it, and the microphone that I used unfortunately picked that up. I cleaned it up as much as I could, but you're going to hear a little bit of that in the background. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So one of the main projects that I'm going to be working on while I'm up there in May is the expansion of the deck. Now, this was in the original plans that I submitted for permitting, and so it's going to be less than a year, and so the permit's still valid. But I need to take the deck, which looks like this. This is actually pretty accurate to the property. There's quite the slope. So you can see it's closer to the ground on one corner than on the other, and then this would be the tallest corner, I guess. And so I will be adding on this lower section of the deck here. So I'll be connecting the posts to the existing deck, and then the remainder of the posts, I believe there's 5 on the outside, 3 here, and then an additional 2, as well as there'll be another similar post over here that'll be floating on a patio block. Those will be anchored in the ground. So I'll be digging down, unfortunately, through some rocky soil, which we previously did, and anchoring those posts in. But this will give me a much cleaner entrance, and the tent comes with a 10-foot awning, so this will also give me a covered patio area. So this is one of the big projects that I'll be doing. I have most of the lumber for this already. I purchased that when I did this deck. As I said, it was part of the original plans, but I'll likely need to pick up some additional lumber. One of the other major projects that I'll be doing, which is not going to be in SketchUp unfortunately, is the well pump replacement. So when I talked about buying raw land, and I said I have raw-ish land, the property that I purchased actually has a well on it. That pump has been sitting in there for 10 plus years without any power or anything, and it was, I don't know the age of it when it was when it was installed. And so it's likely that that pump is just a solid piece of metal at the bottom. If not, I will clean it up and repurpose it someplace else. There is a spring on the property, so it's possible I could use it for, once I develop the spring and get several large water caches, I could use it for irrigation. But as of right now, it's a 220, 230 pump, and I don't have the power hooked up at the property. So I will assess the electrical and the piping to see if there's anything that can be reused there. I do already have a new pump and all the fittings that I'm going to need. I will be installing that 110 pump, which will thankfully run off of my generator. I've already checked that. I did that by going to the manufacturer as well as watching several YouTube reviews of it. There's this one guy, if you haven't already checked him out, his channel is H2O Mechanic, and he does a great job of showing you well install start to finish. He also does reviews, and one of the reviews he did was for the 110, 115 deep well submersible pump that I purchased. So he part of his review was to actually hook up a meter, and he saw that it draws about 6 to 7 amps, so it is easily going to be handled by the 120 volt 15 amp generator that I have, which is great. And so the drive oil will need to be redone this spring in May, actually June. So I'll have somebody regrade that and put in culverts and try and mitigate the water issues because it's such a steeply sloped property. It's literally on the side of a mountain. So I need to have that fixed, and that's going to be one of the big projects, but thankfully that's not anything that, other than paying the check, I'm not going to be involved in doing that work. I'll be doing the development on the property in stages. The driveway is the big ticket item for this trip. Next year will be power. The year after that will likely be the excavation and install of a septic system. And so over the next 3 to 5 years, I hope to have a lot of the major infrastructure in place. And by the time I'm ready to retire, a lot of that infrastructure will already be in place. I am hoping to follow up with a video about how to plan projects. In talking with a couple of people, they seemed kind of amazed that we're able to do these things, come up with these things that they would normally hire people for. I'm a firm believer that you can do anything that you put your mind to, given the proper tools, of course, and given the proper education. But educating yourself is something that is fairly easy to do. We have a world of education at our fingertips. So lots of really interesting projects. The last little project, there was a little 8x8. Calling it a cabin is being generous. A deer blind, I think. It's set up on the convergence of one of the trails because this property was logged off about 10 or 15 years ago. And so there's some logging trails that crisscross the property, which is great and helps you to get to the top of the hill, which is pretty steep. But this building structure was situated on one of these trails up the hill from where the original cabin was, and it had windows that pointed directly down the trails, like deliberately designed to point in each direction down the trails. So some of them were very small too, like small enough that you could shoot through, but not large enough to be, a reasonable window. So that combined with the fact that there were probably half a dozen vodka bottles found in there amongst the debris, because there was years and years of litter in the bottom of this thing. And somebody had run an electrical cord up there so they could run like a space heater. And there was also a small rudimentary makeshift toilet, which was essentially just a very long funnel that was pushed through a hole in the wall so that somebody could relieve themselves and not have to go outside. Having said that, it is an 8x8 building. It was a bit sketchy. It's like I think they screwed it directly to several of the trees, and those trees have since grown, which snapped the screws, and so it had tilted down. Structurally, the structure of the building is actually almost completely intact. It was great. There were a few soft spots in the floor, so I replaced the flooring with brand new pressure-treated 3/4-inch plywood, so it's got a brand new floor in it. The windows were all blown out. There's no covering on the windows, so I screened all of the windows in while I was there the last time. There was no door on it, so we made a makeshift door with some leftover plywood that was taken from another spot on the building. So by the time I'm done, and this is going to be one of the first projects, that will be enclosed. It'll be stabilized. I think it's pretty stable. We did jack up the building and then put in some footings with some concrete blocking that we found, and then I cut custom pillars out of a very beefy, probably 10 to 12 inch diameter pine tree that I found, and chainsawed those to the perfect length, and then secured everything together. So it is now on pilings all the way around, which is great. It makes it more secure. But we'll be enclosing the actual envelope of the building, including the gable ends. Hopefully the screens are still in place. If not, we'll fix those up. And then the other project that I'll be doing there, and this is going to be one of the first projects, is to build a bench. Because right now we are using what they call a luggable loo. It's essentially a little portable toilet that is made from a bucket. It's an advanced bucket. It's got a double wall bag in it that separates the liquid waste from the solid waste, so that there's really minimal smell. It's surprisingly clean smelling. But you're still sitting on a bucket while you poop, which is not comfortable. So it's very low. So the goal is to, there are walls in the cabin, in the outhouse. It's an 8x8 building, and there's a 2-foot hallway as you come through the door. There would be a wall here, and then a 2-foot hallway, and then the outer wall here. And so I'll be using that 6-foot space and building in a bench, and the bench will be segmented like you see here. It'll be closed in on the ends so that squirrels and chipmunks and whatnot cannot get in, or mice or whatever. The top will be a single segment, but the fronts will be broken into 3 segments, and then these will be storage space, lockable storage space, so that when I leave at the end of my trip, I'll be able to put all of my perishables and toilet paper, all the stuff that squirrels and mice love to get into and ruin, will get locked up inside of here. I will be doing something a little bit beefier, building in cabinets here, and then also across the building from here, we'll be putting in like a rudimentary countertop with like a little sink area and one of those 5-gallon containers of water that we can use for washing up. It'll just go into a bucket and then we'll empty the bucket. So that is the major plans that I have for my 3-week trip. And I know it seems like a lot to do in 3 weeks, but thankfully my brother's going to be there to help me out. And he and I have got quite a good working experience as far as construction. We've done it all our lives, and we actually work well together. He helped me on some of the design and the building of the frame of the deck, but the framing of it up, the chiseling out of the shelves on the 6x6s, getting all the posts set and level and square, and the whole thing set up. He helped me a ton with that. So to summarize, the driveway, I hope to get the driveway done before I get there or shortly after I get there. While that's happening, we'll be first working on closing in the restroom area, the bathroom area, to get that closed up and get the bench built and make that a lot more comfortable and usable. So having this bench there, having storage there is going to be great. Having the addition of the deck, as I showed you, to give us some relaxation area, because that main deck that I built, while it's pretty big, is essentially covered by my tent. But expanding that deck is going to be key. Getting the well refreshed with a new pump and shocked and tested, and having fresh water on demand is going to be key. That's going to open up a whole bunch of other things for, as I said, mixing concrete and doing all sorts of things that right now we have to manually haul water up to the property, because while I have a well, I don't have any way of pumping water out of the well. This is essentially what I plan on doing over the course of the 3 weeks or so that I'll be in New York at my property in the Adirondacks. So I'm very excited, as you can probably tell, to get all these things done. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you get something out of it. I will be doing some of that while I'm on site. So I'll bring you guys along for the building of the bench in the restroom, the construction of the deck, possibly the install of the well pump, and the other bonus project that I hope to do. So I'll try and bring you guys along on all of that. I'm going to capture as much video as I can while I'm there, and I'm hoping that will give you guys something interesting to watch. I know this has been a lot of talking head stuff, but this is what I can do right now. It's going to kick off when I'm there. We're going to be nonstop action, and I'm going to try to record as much of that as I can, and in turn turn that into something that you guys will hopefully like. And I hope to see you next time. Like and subscribe if any of this stuff was helpful to you. And if you have questions or you think I'm doing something wrong, throw a comment down in the comments. I really would like to hear from you guys. Or if there's a topic that you'd like me to focus on about the types of projects that I'm going to be doing, or some other things, the plans that I have for my property, let me know about that as well. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.